that's where your love for technology started.
I would say that also gave me a kind of I would say interesting perspective, because earlier we used to only see it from a numbers perspective. I'm a big believer of one book called Outlier. Outlier is a book where it just says that, a lot of people says that this gentleman is lucky and that person is lucky, but you will become only lucky if you are actually doing it.
I like the way that, how you built your organization also, like, to be very honest, the fact that you all want to show up your learnings and your success stories to your customers.
That's very much important, because we, coming from background consulting, what used to happen is we used to always say the success story, and somewhere we are very inspired by Sridhar sir, because we have seen the way he has built up the thing.
What is one key thing that someone has to keep in mind when it comes to data mining, machine learning?
The biggest strength which I think CAs have, and this is our secret superpower we don't know, is the knowledge of business.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Coffee with CA with me, your host Sheena Barwani. Today on this episode, we have someone very special. He's a tech evangelist while disrupting the entire scene of audit, risk, and all things finance. So grab your cup of coffee as we interview and deep dive into the journey of CA Anand Prakash Jangid and learn all about his journey and how he's been doing so with AI at the forefront. So let's get started. Hello, sir, and welcome over here. We're very happy to have you over here. So, welcome to Chennai.
Thank you. Pleasure all mine, Gina. This is good to be here, actually. I really love to be at your campus, and amazing place, actually.
I hope you enjoyed your drive from Bangalore to Chennai too.
Yeah, it was better than the drive in Bangalore. So it was good fun.
Definitely. So first things first, I'm going to ask you and pick your brain on why you chose CA as your career.
That's a great question, Gina, because that's a question which, I would say as a CA, as I would say CA now, when I actually see on the hindsight, what I can say is it was very interesting that the decision making process for a 16 or 18-year-old guy at that time was like, what are the career prospect I see?
Correct, yeah.
Coming from a very middle class family, and also from a very small town, it was never a choice or something. To be honest, I came to Bangalore to study another professional course called CWA, because someone told me that after that you can be sure about a 15,000 rupees salary. So that was great. But somehow I came and my cousin was there, and we just said, okay, why don't we try also this one? And lucky for me, I cleared one of the foundation part in first attempt. So I thought, okay, this is an easy course, but I realized that was not the truth later. But that's how I got into that. But on a hindsight, I can say that it's one of the great courses, because the ROI it gives you, and it's a great opportunity to learn multiple things and become a good professional in the field.
So, as soon as you cleared your CA, what was your first step? Because I know that you're a master behind risk audit and all things systems related. So, guide me into your journey.
Okay, that was very interesting. I would really thank Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for one thing. I still remember, I would say Chennai was one of my turning point for me, because there was a student conference happening.
Okay.
And I always, feel that that's something where you learn. And someone was presenting, and this is, I'm talking about year 2000, which is like, no one knew about all this information systems, risk and all thing. And there was a boy, a student presenting a paper on risk.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, okay, very intrigued. And after his discussion, I just
Spoke
went to him,
and
he said, oh, this is how you can do, you can go to this site, you can wrote about that. And we never knew the sites, because I don't know how many of you are aware of, there used to be time when, 1 hour of surfing on a cyber cafe.
It would take a lot of money.
Money and all the things. So that's how I came into that. So it was a turning point. But luckily, I did my articleship in a small and medium firm. So it gave me a kind of idea of multiple things.
Correct.
And that led to the next journey, which, after post-chartered accountancy, what I got into.
That's nice. So you always wanted to get into the corporate world, because from your journey, I understand that you immediately went into the corporate.
Okay. So this is something which I have not told much, but let me share with you. It was like I would say it was more of an accident. So what happened was when you become you have been all told, oh, you become CA, something will change and all thing. And then you become CA, then you don't know what to do.
Correct,
and it was like little shocking. So what happened was I went out to actually more of, I would say, offer shopping. So started going to one company to other company, taking offers from them. And it was lucky I got a couple of offers. But then it was like something which I thought, okay, what I would like to do, because it was very confusing. Somewhere it was in corporate where you're getting into, a role of assisting a CFO. Somewhere you are getting into consulting. So somehow my first job was for Aditya Birla Group. That was very enticing because the kind of thing which was there is you are in a large group and you get a kind of know everything. And it was also important to understand how corporate function, because coming from a small and medium firm, from a assurance perspective what need to be done, but what exactly how the functioning. So that's the decision
behind the scenes.
Behind the scene, it just went up, and I thought, okay, that's great. And when I choose it from multiple offers I had that time, this looks very enticing because you are getting into a group which is very diverse. You will get to know multiple things. So that's how I got into that.
Oh, okay. So from Aditya Birla, what was your role over there?
Okay, so I was into audit, corporate audit, which is like basically the holding company.
Correct.
They would be doing reviews and all things. So the idea was basically to take it forward in terms of how we can actually give value add to the group by giving them a kind of a independent assurance kind of thing within the group, saying that, okay, it's working fine, but let's try to see it from a perspective of management also. So it was a kind of mix of that. And this was a short stint, because what happened was I also got into a little excited and I did my CISA, which is Certified Information Systems Auditor. And it also gave me a new perspective that, okay, though we are doing this assurance on the I would say financial side, but the financial systems are working on the information systems. So if you don't have the fundamentals right, then it's going to be wrong. So that's something how I got into little diverted
like
and
technology side.
That's
where your love for technology started.
I would say that also gave me a kind of a I would say interesting perspective, because earlier we used to only see it from a numbers perspective. But when you try to match both of them, then it becomes little interesting because you see a big picture out there and all things.
So you got the best of both worlds by doing your CA and then your CISA certification.
I would say I was blessed because it was lucky and I got it at the right time.
Exactly, because at that time, I was just thinking that too, where, at that point of time is when computers started getting into the scene.
Yeah, I am telling you, I always believe that a lot of things happen at the, I'm a big believer of one, book called Outlier. I hope you have gone through it. And Outlier is a book where it just says that, a lot of people says that this gentleman is lucky and that person is lucky, but you will become only lucky if you are actually doing it. So I was very interested because of the articleship time. So it so happened was like I was doing all these things and opportunity knocked. So it was like not thought of, but it came into place. And
like grab it at the first go or something.
Yeah. More of that would be saying.
Yeah. So after Aditya Birla and while you're doing your CISA, right? So while you were doing your CISA certification, then...
So what happened was, is like Aditya Birla is a great company, amazing organization, got to learn a lot. But then at that time, I'm talking about the 2003, 4 of that, we were not very tech focused at that time. So I was really looking to understand it. Somehow I got an opportunity to work for, Goldman Sachs was looking for people at that time. And it was also looking for the people in, there was a kind of hiring happening in Japan for finance and all thing and all. They were looking at Indian CAs. So I tried it because I was very intrigued about that and someone who referred me. Luckily, it went through and I got a chance to work with that. GS is also a great organization.
Correct.
And it gave me a very different perspective because one organization is very India focused, and then you're working in a very global focused organization. And it like broadened your perspective because a lot of things we never knew. A lot of things we never think of. Like, for example, we talk about today something called e-discovery or digital forensic. That's something, first thing I came to know when I went to GSO. There's something like e-discovery. People use it for scanning machines, emails, and all the things. We never knew about all those things.
Correct.
So it gave a different perspective of the knowledge base which was there, and it's a very, very, I would say, competitive culture. So it's like, it burns you down very fast, but it also is like gives you a lot of knowledge and all things. So that was a great thing.
So there are a lot of light bulb moments.
Oh yeah, that was a lot of like, I would say many, and when you're working with a lot of this very smart people,
Correct.
they are like you really get inspired by what they are doing and all the things. So it gave a lot of interesting perspective also that okay, nothing is like used to think of from a little closer perspective that okay, things are going to work on this way only. There can be a new way of looking at things and taking it forward.
Correct.
That was the thing.
So then, after Goldman Sachs, then what?
Yeah, so it so happens Goldman Sachs was like in Japan and all thing, and then your other things comes up, you get married, all the things and everything.
Correct.
And even if you're there in Japan, you don't get citizenship or thing long term abroad and all thing. It so was that I was looking forward to something back home, and my parents also wanted. I'm being an only son, I have 3 sisters. It was basically better option that you be
Get back home.
back home. So I got a chance to work in Infosys with a great team because they were setting up a team on enterprise risk management solutions.
Okay.
So it was like from the scratch, they were trying to work it out. So it was good opportunity to join someone when they are building it up, because once you are already at a top, then you are just a bolt in the big machinery. But
Correct.
when you are building it up, the grounds of what's happening. And I would say Infosys, personally, it's a great organization. I was very inspired by, today I had a tour of your campus, and I see a lot of kind of things like the same days, my Infi days, because it's a little an organization which talks about empowering young people to do a lot of things. So it was a great opportunity. Work on consulting, worked on program management, work different geographies, different clienteles. So that was the kind of thing, and it gave you also kind of thing how IT actually works. So the first two organizations were more of businesses who's using IT. Here it is a core IT company which was working on.
Completely. So so at that point of time, once you joined Infosys, did your love for IT just grow?
I would say yes, and it also gave us a lot of new perspective because now your vocabulary changed. You will use the word like ping me.
Correct.
It's instead of saying that call me, you say ping me. All the things changes, and there are some of the people I would say whom I worked with, like Kirtana and other people who were there. My bosses were there, amazing people. They used to enable us. Like I would say, in Goldman Sachs, we used to have a saying that you should train your your people under you to take over your role so that you can grow up. That used to be the concept. Yes, that is being followed in Goldman Sachs, but I could see that happening in Infi actually. So at a very young age, we were actually managing very large projects, and the leadership was really, really inspiring. So, and the people you're working with, and that's something which I would like to share with you because you mentioned that IT love for that.
Definitely.
The kind of discussion, though I'm a chartered accountant, they never used to have that thing, oh, you don't understand.
Oh, you're from the finance background.
Yeah, you're from finance. Because that's the kind of thought process which used to lead up and made your life better. And I was not in core finance or other things, so it was consulting. So you are working with other folks who are actually out there. So that was interesting.
That's nice. So I also understand that you have been across the globe, right?
Yeah.
Like you've stayed in multiple regions. Which has been your favorite? Or you can tell us, like, list out your regions and then say your favorite.
I would actually say one thing, which is like, I'm not saying just because I'm patriotic or anything else, but I love to be back in India. Like, I have stayed in many places. Like I was in Europe, I was in North America, I has been in Asia Pac. Maybe I'm a foodie and all the things, so I prefer it to be there. But it's great to be working out there. The base location, which is very good, is Bangalore. Again, to when you're back to the base location, it's always good and all the things. So, but it's a great because when you work with all the people with multiple cultural background, one of the things which I learned, I would say this is very important, and I always try to tell my team also to work on that is cultural sensitivity. Different cultures have different things, and it's very important that we respect that and take that forward. So that's something which we learned out there.
That would have like set your base then.
Yes.
So given that you finished your entire Infosys journey, and then did that trigger your entrepreneurship mind?
Oh, okay. In one way, yes, because the kind of I would say freedom they used to give us to try and make sure that how can we solve the client problem. That was one of the kind of thing. But unfortunate for me, it was a little other thing which happened. And, that was like at the age of around 36, 37, I would say I was managing a large project.
Correct.
A lot of big, team and all thing. and I got a small heart attack.
Okay.
And that was like, it was because maybe I had a wrong lifestyle and all thing and other things, and abusing the body, because you are like very, riding a high on that.
Correct.
Okay, you're managing a huge team, 500 million projects and all the things. So you get a little excited. So that was a little turning point that I wanted to slow it down. And also I was looking at, that I should do something different than what I was doing, because I'm sure every professionals in their life, they sometimes feel like, okay, I have been doing this. I'm very good at that. Let me try something which is more challenging and all.
But what more can I do?
Yeah, and more. What more can I do in this one where I can actually add something more value?
Yeah.
So that was like a little bit of turning point, and then I wanted to the entrepreneurship game, and it was very interesting because it was like a new challenge which is there. Now earlier you used to have people who will help you to make your PPTs. Now you make your own PowerPoint presentations and everything, and you change your things.
Correct.
And a lot of interesting things you have to worry about, which was not earlier to worry about.
That's nice. So, sir, after your Infosys, you immediately got into your entrepreneurship mindset, like after you said that, you had a health issue, right? So, what made you get into data specifically?
Okay, that was, I was thinking at that time, because I got some time to think over what are the things we do. And partially, I also got in a little bit of academics,
Okay.
as a visiting faculty at IIM Bangalore, and also I was
Alright.
teaching with a couple of people. So I learned one thing is like one of the area where as CAs, we, somewhere we have been taught in our CA course one term called conservatism.
Correct, yeah.
And of late, we are very conservative in many things. So something which we need to change. And Infosys taught us one very important lesson, which was, in God we trust, for everything else bring data.
Yeah.
There should be supportings to sell you that. Now, organizations are building up huge amount of data. Can we leverage that in decision making? Can we leverage it in other areas? And more importantly, how can a chartered accountant, because being a CA myself, I thought that I have a business knowledge, but if I know how to use this tech, it would add a lot of value.
Correct.
So we were also very inspired by one of the concept which I always talk about. I heard somewhere from one of my friend that there is a site called Google Graveyard.
Correct.
And this site actually has all the list of failed product.
Yeah.
And at AJ Labs, where I work right now in my organization with a couple of my friends, we are working on that. Our thought process is that we want to experiment it up. Maybe something will work very good, something may not work.
Exactly, yeah.
And we wanted to go with that lab mindset to do it up, because our thought process was that how can we use a lot of the smart tech which is coming, and it should not be like agnostic that I should only do this one. It should be agnostic of AI, machine learning, or it can be also process mining, anything which can add value to our finance and audit professionals. So that's how we got into that one, and that was the idea.
So AJ Labs started off in 2013?
No. We started AJ Labs something around 2017.
Okay.
Because I was also trying to understand and all thing, and it was more of initially bootstrap, and then we have a couple of friends who came in and all the thing.
Correct.
But idea was basically to have a group of people who are very passionate about how we can use transformational technologies in finance and audit. We didn't want it to focus on other area, because our thought process was very clear. That was our mandate, that let's try to see what we can do. And we would do a lot of experiments also. So we had a budget of research. We said, okay, we know we will fail. It's fine. It's great. But if we don't try it, we'll not even know what it's going to work.
Yeah.
That was the idea.
So what has been your favorite experiment which worked?
Okay. Okay, which work? And I think, as I told you, Gina, we also say that, in fact, even each of our presentations we make to our clients, we use a word, earlier we used to use a word called success stories, but then we have changed it to learnings and success stories, because learnings are important.
Correct.
What didn't work. So I would give you an example of what worked, what didn't work.
Definitely.
What worked for us was one of the very interesting solution we were trying to do in autonomous control monitoring.
Okay.
So idea was that if you have a transaction processing system, let's say Zoho, any of the thing, there's a huge amount of data. Can we take something from ERPs and other things and continuously basically monitor them for any kind of anomaly detection, so that the team which is doing it, we don't do this like there is a joke which goes in audit that it's a post-mortem.
Correct.
Everything has happened and then you are coming and basically doing it. And there we would like to give a more of near real-time alerts to the stakeholders to know that. that has been our most successful thing. We call that as Complebear on AJ Labs right now. It's a name our team just, picked it up with a kind of a, I would say, eeny, meeny, miny, we said, okay, this is the name which looks good and we'll take it up. But we had a lot of learnings. I'll tell you something which we learned a lot. We built up a machine learning model to basically do e-discovery. Like if you do digital forensic, you have a huge amount of data which comes from a machine and all things. Now, which one is useful, which one is not useful? So we actually said, okay, this is something which is doable. It's like advanced search engine logics and all things. We can actually put it up there. We tried it, but somewhere we missed on the user requirement. Like we didn't thought it from a perspective of a CA or a person who is actually there, a functional user, how he's going to use it. And that was like a big failure. We invested a lot of money in experimenting it. That went for a toss. But I would say even today we have like more than 7 to 8 products on our kitty, but we have around 9 to 10 products which are there in our graveyard. So which are there, we keep it there. Like okay, we should remind this is something which happened, and the learnings are out there.
So that's nice. I like the way that how you built your organization. Also, like to be very honest, the fact that you all want to show up your learnings and your success stories to your customers. While pitching to them.
That's very much important because we, coming from a background consulting, what used to happen is we used to always say the success stories. But it's very easy to promise a person saying that, and somewhere we are very inspired by Sridhar sir because we have seen the way he has built up the thing. So we were actually also thinking that we should not only just work on one domain and say, hey, here is the success stories. These are the things which has worked and these are the things which has not worked. So we, in fact, presently we don't do it, but initially we used to even be very open in our way of sharing that things that, these are the things we are not work. But later we found that it's better not to share them and all the things. So we cut down that. But the idea is, at least we know that these are the risk management perspective you can actually take care of that one. That's how we are taking care.
So you have fun every day at work when it comes to like...
I would say we try to have fun. I have an amazing team actually. I would say my team is it's a mix of mostly chartered accountants, functional guys, as well as some engineers and people who come from very different background. We are a very small team. We are not a very big team. We are based out of Bangalore, Trivandrum. A little bit of team members are there in US. So we are a small team. We work it up. But what we enjoy about this is we are a flat organization. So it's like a very simple things we all work on. And our focus is that, in fact, if you sometimes come to our office, we have a very nice poster. Someone made it up. And I don't know how, they said, if data is the new refinery, we are if data is the new oil, we are the refinery. So it's a very interesting thing that how can we give really insight out there. So this team really works well, and that's the reason which are there, because I am very rarely in office. I'm traveling all the time. So they are the people who are the pillar who makes it up there.
That's nice. So as someone who is watching this episode, right, what is one key thing that someone has to keep in mind when it comes to data mining, machine learning, and anything related to risk in terms of all of this while being on the side of this, being a chartered accountant?
Great. I think that's a very good question, because what happens is this used to be a question many times we used to hear from fresh CAs who used to join us that, oh, I'm not supposed to do this. I'm supposed to do debit what comes in, create what goes out.
Correct, exactly. Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing I want to tell them, that the biggest strength which I think CAs have, and this is our like secret superpower we don't know, is the knowledge of the business. The way, because we have a standard also saying knowledge of the business. If we can actually use our knowledge of the business to help clients, to help ourselves, it can add it up. The one thing, if there are many things, but one thing, if you ask me, which is very critical, which most of the CAs, if they can do to come in this domain and work around, is to get their hands dirty. When I say hands dirty, they should be trying it up. We try to think that, okay, as I told you, we are conservative in everything. Like, oh, why should we try? Someone should have tested it up, then only we do it up.
We just stick to audit.
We just stick to audit. This is easy. We don't have to relearn. But upskilling and reskilling is very important. We all know the things changes around us. So it's very important. They need to start from the thing. And somewhere, this may be on a lighter note, but I do think this is my personal view, because I also got into that. The moment I became CA, for a few days, I had a lot of these two horns on my head. Like, you have that ego coming up that, oh, this is something below my dignity to do this kind of thing. I think we should be I would say lifelong learner. So update ourselves. We are already doing it, but it's very important to know the things which are changing around us. Industry 4.0 is actually impacting big time.
Yeah.
And if we don't know that, we would be a kind of a relic in this whole thing. That's my thought.
That's nice. So, coming to AI,
Yeah.
which is like the most talked topic
Right.
about, and you being an expert in it, tell me, how does data mining, machine learning, all related, and you have AI on top of that, help a chartered accountant?
Great. So
Talk to me like I'm a noob.
Okay, great. So think of this, Gina. Okay. Let's say, for example, if today, if I ask you to do two things, let's say send an SMS or do a call.
Correct.
We have a smartphone also, and we
Yeah.
have to have that the Nokia 1100,
Correct,
which
yeah.
was to be there. Now both will do the functionality will be done by both of them.
Yeah.
But here is one thing which can do much more. Now, if I actually try to see it from a CA perspective, let's try to go from bottoms up. Like we just try to start from the scratch.
Okay.
The thing which is there is, if you are a practicing CA, we all know how you would have heard the jokes about CAs, right? There's a joke which goes saying, CAs are never perfect because they're always practicing.
Yeah, yeah.
But we are workaholics. Actually, that's a kind of thought process which the image has been created. But the thought is that they are really working hard because there are a lot of stuff to be done. Compliance is increasing and all that. If I can see which are the places where I can use smart tech, it can be, let's say, process mining. One of the simple thing which we use process mining is for, everyone says, oh, we have followed the SOP. But have you really followed the SOP? Now, there is one way of saying that, no, I got this exception and all thing. But you can also go with data to the client saying, hey, here is that. We have mined your data. Here are the logs data. You didn't follow your process this much. And we have evidence to show it to you. That becomes more impactful. Now, correct, it's actually the same thing. I know it is not there, but I'm going with an impactful presentation. Machine learning and AI, there are two ways we are using it. AI, if I say from a generative AI perspective, I'll just keep it on that one. The tools like we have CA GPT and we have now Chat GPT and many of the tools we have right now, we have in the market hundreds of Gemini and all things. These are the bots which are there. There are things which is there. If I know how to use them effectively, it can actually reduce our work. I am seeing so many CAs using it for drafting purpose. There are so many CAs who are using it for analysis purpose and all things. That is generative AI. Machine learning is mostly used in corporates because correct, what they are dealing with a huge amount of data, structured and unstructured data. Now imagine if I can actually have a setup where out of 365 days, the data, because it's being generated, I can use it for finding anomalies. It can be like wrong GL entry posting, because this is correct, happens a lot in all the time.
It's a very common error.
Common thing. And this is like, it is using one very basic concept called NLP, natural language processing.
Correct.
Based on the narration you have posted and all things, how we can actually. So I'm just giving an example.
Exactly, yeah.
But idea is, that's what we were trying to do it. I tell sometime to my team, our job is very simple. We know the problem statement, we know the technology. It's like match the following.
Yeah.
And if we can do that, if CS can do that, I think the sky is the limit, because we are not knowing how to optimize our processes. There are hundreds of things which are there. You have Zoho CRM and all things. Yeah. If I start using it, I know how much things I can automate and take it forward.
Correct.
But we should be using it. Unless you test it,
yeah,
no one will know. That's kind of thing.
So that was very interesting, the way you mentioned, like, how chartered accountants can be helpful. You also mentioned that you are teaching people out there, right? So what is your expertise in that area?
Nothing as such. Academics is something which I was very interested in. And I'll be very honest, like many of the ideas which we got for using AI in finance and thing came from some academic papers. Where we were reading a lot of ResearchGate and other things. It's very interesting because a lot of people have done good research and no one uses them. So correct, we thought we'll use it. And I think that when we share our knowledge, you also learn a lot. So sometimes, as I told you, I got into academics because it was something which I really loved. It's more of a personal, sometimes you feel good, like giving back to the society. That was how I started. And now, because I teach at many places, Institute also got a chance. We have been working on a couple of now courses which we have an AI committee there. Niva Sharma, he heads that. It's doing pretty amazing job. So we are trying to make sure that we upskill all our CA community, and it's actually going to be good because Gina, you would agree that right now we are in a time where upskilling and reskilling is very
Yeah,
important.
definitely. Learn, unlearn,
Unlearn and relearn. And that is the thing, because what has happened is what I learned, because I come from a generation of CAs where the moment our trial balance tally, we were like happy.
Yeah.
Because trial balance never used to tally.
Correct.
And we have come a long way from there. So it's very interesting. We have come such a long way. But what I see is, this is my personal belief, and I myself try to update myself and upgrade myself a lot. There are a lot of changes happening around us. And the fourth industrial revolution is really impacting the whole business cycles and everything.
Correct.
And if we don't do understand this well, it would be a challenging time. So my thought process was very simple, that if I am upgrading myself, I should also share with them, because then I get a kind of feedback mechanism.
That's where you got into academics.
I got in academics, and academics was an interesting area. I personally feel it is good, but it is actually, people say it's easy. When you go into serious academics, it's very tough. Presenting papers and all thing. I can vouch for that. Like, I have my respect for all the professors and all thing, and gone like 10 notch up, because I used to think, oh, it's like simple, but it's like a lot of pre-work, post-work, and everything that goes in a way.
That's nice. So I've had a wonderful time talking to you and engaging in this conversation with you, sir. And thank you so much for this. So we're on to our next segment. And on this particular segment, we have a chartered accountant from the previous episode, CA Jayanthi Ganapathi.
Okay.
And she has left a question for you, not knowing who's going to come on next. Just going to read out the question. It'll be great if you can answer that.
Sure.
Yeah. So she's left a question. As a chartered accountant, how are you going to embrace technology and automation into your practice? I think there's no better person to answer that than you.
I would say, okay, this is interesting, because, being in tech area myself, though I'm not in the traditional practice of other things, but I would say we have been using tech in every facet of our work. It can be starting from onboarding and taking it person forward to HRMS systems or CRMS systems, everything which is there. The idea is very simple. If, I don't think any chartered accountant or a team member in a CA community gets very excited that, oh, let's do reconciliation today. No one, right? It's a kind of thing which we have to do. It's a necessary evil. Now, my point is that, can we look at, or we jot down all the 5 to 10 areas which we hate doing continuously or repeatedly? First thing I would say everyone who has to do is to automate that part. And I'm differentiating between automation and AI, because AI comes very later, when you have at least some level of, baseline has been done out there. So yeah, I would say personally, I have something for myself, a kind of a key takeaway, which I'm planning to do. We would like to make our organizations very, I would say, lean organization. That's something which we are trying to do it, because it's very important in time to come. People should be having a way of working from anywhere, anytime, and also they should be having process-driven organization, not a person-driven organization. Whether you are there or not, it should be working. That's something which I'm personally trying to be there. It will take us, it's a journey, it's not going to be easy, but I am seeing a lot of people using a lot of tech. So I would say Jayanthi ma'am has a great question, actually.
All right. Thank you so much for that. And it'll be great if you could also drop in your question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
And we'll reveal this on the next episode.
Okay.
Thank you so much for this. And we are on to the final segment.
Sure.
This is a fun segment.
Okay.
And for this particular segment, I'm going to use my phone. So pardon me for that.
Nope.
I have a few questions that I've prepped for you.
Okay.
Where it is just like, to touch base on the fun aspect of every chartered accountant. Because I always believe that even though we look serious, or like people look serious, behind them is always a fun person.
Amazing.
So my first question is, if you could travel back in time and give one piece of tech advice to yourself when you first started off your career, what would it be?
Learn Python.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So if you could have any superpower to use in your daily work, what would it be and why?
I would say I would like to have a photographic memory. That is something which I am like very bad at. I'm like, I'm not very organized person. I'll think if I have a photographic memory, I can actually remember everything.
Correct.
And that would be amazing, actually, if I get to.
That's nice. Your work would be top notch.
Oh, yeah.
And many people have hidden talents or hobbies outside work.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any unusual interests or hobbies that you're colleagues might be surprised that you have?
Unusual. I'm a miser, actually.
Okay.
That's the thing I would say. That's something which is, but hobby perspective, if you think, I love to do one thing, which is like, I like to travel.
Okay.
I would like to explore some of the things which is there. Very, new areas and all thing. And I like to do solo travel. So I do that, something
Okay.
which I love.
That's nice. So, what's one tech gadget or tool that you can't live without, and not your phone?
Okay. I would say I have a tab, and the tab
Okay.
is very important because it's like I consume all my knowledge from that. So I keep it there. It's my knowledge consumption deck, you can say.
That's nice. If you could invite any historical figure or tech innovator to dinner, who would it be and what would you ask them?
Okay, that's interesting. Actually, tech innovator, right?
Yeah.
I would like to, I got a chance to be in, because we have office in New Jersey, and I went to, in New Jersey we have a place called Edison where the bulb was there. And just next to him, there is Nikola Tesla's lab was there. So this too was there. And I got a chance to go to both these places and saw that thing. I think one of the persons I would like to, maybe get a chance to hear is Nikola Tesla. He is amazing because, people all talk about Edison as like someone who has been very successful and who did it up.
But electricity is because
of but the DC, AC and other things.
Yeah.
But Nikola Tesla also has a lot of contribution, and I think he was never given that, the recognition what he could deserve. And he was like someone who kept everything open source. Like, he said, I'm not going to basically charge for that. So I really want to know, because open source, we heard it today as a term which we use in, thing, but he was very ahead of the time. So someone I'm very inspired to know his thought. I have read a couple of his books about him, but it's like mix up. Someone else is talking about. So from the innovator's mouth himself will be amazing.
That's nice. Since you've read a lot of books, is there any book, fiction or non-fiction, that you had read and that has inspired you or made you work or think differently about work?
I would say the book I mentioned was Outlier.
Outlier.
It's a really good book. And Outlier, Malcolm Gladwell's book. And I read this book at a time when I was going through a pace where I was like thinking, oh my God, why it's happening to me? And that's time when this book came. I personally believe like there are a lot of messages out there, but the favorite message I have is in that one. It's called 10,000 hour rule. Okay. What they said is anything you would like to do in your life, if any CAs would like to do anything in their thing, like I want to become an expert in AI or anything, be ready to give 10,000 hours on that area. Like he actually gives real data to prove his point.
Okay.
And that 10,000 hours is something which I personally believe, and I also tell my colleagues and everyone that, if you would like to do something in that, we should be ready to put 10,000 hours on that. And that is something which is very life transforming for me.
Definitely. So my final question is, if you could invent one gadget or software to solve a problem in audit or finance world, what would it be?
Okay.
I left the most interesting one for the end.
This is interesting. Actually, I would like to do one thing, which is like, this is my, it will be like a moonshot for me, but if I can sometime do that, take out all the boring stuff from the accountancy and audit part. Make sure it happens in a way where we have some kind of engine which works on that.
Correct.
And the real brain should be to focus on decision making that can be done by us.
Yeah.
That if we can do it, that would be a moonshot. Like you have, think of like you have an organization. The organization should have a beautiful dashboard like NASA and all thing, where everything what's happening you can see that. Something which I have read recently in BCG journal, which is about digital twin in finance. So that's something which I think as a concept looks amazing if I can do something.
That's really interesting. So thank you so much, sir, for all those answers. And
Pleasure.
Thank you for patiently answering each and every question of mine.
Sure.
As a small token of appreciation, we have this for you.
Oh,
and thank you so much for this.
Thank you very much, Gina. It was a pleasure, I would say.
It was lovely meeting you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.